Hey guys, it is the witching hour. It is late night with Last Danger. Just doing a quick stream to chill a little bit with you guys if you're awake at this hour. I do have a couple of things I wanted to talk about. As you can see by the title of the stream, it is a celebratory stream. A lot of cool stuff happening throughout the week and happening today as well. I'm even wearing my Mets 1969 World Series shirt. Thank you very much. I'm so fancy. I'm going to just have a small drink with you guys because it is a drinking moment, because it is a great occasion. And I will tell you why it is a great occasion. I just found out, like, a couple of things. Today, one of the main things, I found out that one of the comics that I co-wrote with Jose Cruz for his studio, Silver Island Studios, El Gran Matatan, issue number one, which was the origin issue of that character, sold out. It's the second time it actually sells out. The first time it sold out like on a level of being in comic book shops and being ordered through mail from Jose Cruz himself. And then he made some additional copies, I guess, and was being sold at the Manga Criolla, a comic book festival type thing that was done this past weekend, and that I mentioned in the previous live stream that I did. And I knew a couple of people had bought it, but it actually sold out. Another colleague that does comics himself, Pedro Cortez, no relation. He has his own like online comic book shop that he sells comic books of other local creators in Puerto Rico, as well as mainstream comics. I'm not sure if he has a physical store as well. I'm not sure, but he was at the Manga Criolla festivities, and he had his own comics as well as the other comics that he's selling for other people as well. So he's kind of like turning into like a Puerto Rican comic book distributor in the island in a sense, which is pretty cool actually. And it sold out. El Gran Matatan, you know, cheers. Sweet success. For those of you who are not aware of like the story of El Gran Matatan, or how that came about. That came about quite a few years ago when Jose Cruz um, formed his Silver Island Studios after kind of being away for a little bit from comics. Jose and I go way, way back, like probably around 17 years now that we know each other, probably closer to 20. But it's been a long time that we've known each other. We both kind of started more or less around the same time to do comic books in Puerto Rico. So we have a long-standing professional and relationship and a friendship as well. So when he did his Silver Island Studios, he reached out to me to help him um, co-write some short stories. He had some loose ideas and kind of like the plots of how he wanted things to go, but he kind of needed help with like brainstorming and kind of developing and fleshing out those stories more. And that's where I came in. And also, especially in Puerto Rico, I was getting that reputation of doing solid stories with my own comics. So I helped him out with the comic book anthology, past issue number one and issue number two. And issue number one was one of the stories was centered around a blind character called Blindsight. She is the main protagonist of the story. She is the superhero of the story, and he had like his ideas of how he wanted that short story to be. He gave me like some of his ideas, and I expanded on it and added dialogue, and I actually helped add a villain to the story, yes, so she could have someone to fight in that story. And it turned out to be El Gran Matatan, which is just like a thug, a thief, a no good scoundrel, really. And he was there just pretty much to be like Blindsight's foil. She was a character that she is Nuyorican. She hadn't been in the island in a long time, and she just moved back to Puerto Rico. And the first thing she does is she runs into a bank robbery, and there's Gran Matatan assaulting one of those protected vans that carries money around and such. So, kind of like those Wells Fargo kind of armored cars and whatnot. And as some of you know, he is like a character that has a machine gun for an arm. I'm going to show the image in a little bit. And I just kind of like made that throwaway character for her to just have someone to have like an antagonist. And for some crazy reason, people really liked that character, even though he didn't have that much dialogue and he was defeated relatively easily, mostly because he was so arrogant. I don't know if that's what resonated with people or not, or I don't know. It's like I've said before, sometimes you just don't know what is going to be the thing that'll be like a hit with readers. So people reacted incredibly well to issue one of Pat's, and initially that issue sold out as well in comic book shops. It was, and people were actually talking a lot about that issue. And then, of course, Pass number two came out, which had two stories as well. And I co wrote one of them as well, Hannah the Dragon Fang, which was a pretty fun story to do. But people really, really liked El Gran Matatan. So he actually started appearing in other comics as well within the Silver Island Studio universe. Like he also appeared in Pass number three as a and it was very fun actually. Jose fully did the script on those issues, and it was on that issue, and issue number three was very fun, especially the interaction Matatan was having with the main protagonist of that story. And and Jose approached me to if I was interested in doing an origin story for Matatan, and of course I said yes. Like it was a very fun character to write, despite it just being like a few bits of dialogue and going down spectacularly. But again, people really, really began to like that character, and sometimes those characters become bigger than yourself. So it was fun to take like that challenge of trying to give more of a backstory to him. And Jose had written quite a bit what he would have liked to have in the story. So it was kind of like a brainstorming back and forth for that story until we came to a good middle ground of the things that he wanted to have and some things that I wanted to add to the character and the story as well. And I think it balanced out really, really well. I'll drink to that, definitely. Jose and I have a very good chemistry when it comes to bouncing ideas back and forth and kind of brainstorming and kind of sending like he'll send me plot points of what he would like in the story. I'll take those plots and write around it within those I hate to use the word restrictions, but around those those plot points, I'll expand on it and try to write within that world is a better way to say it. So it was definitely a cool challenge to do. It was very fun to come up with that origin story. Jose, for what I saw, also had a lot of fun with the back and forth with it, and he just got a great artistic team to help him out. And let me just go ahead and show. Like I do have things ready. Right. Here we go. This is just a fantastic cover. Let me just kind of make this. Let me. All right, here we are. I think I actually muted myself by accident. All right, here we go. So you guys kind of appreciate the artwork better. It's such a great cover. Like the moment that hustled me that image, I fell in love with it immediately. The artist of this cover, he goes by the name of the artistic name of Bonk's Art. That's Bonkz Art, and the colorist is another colleague in Puerto Rico. His name is Wilfredo Lopez Centeno, and that was just a fantastic cover. Like the cover alone, I'm sure sold most of those issues because it's just a very, very good cover. And then here is one of the panels of the comic book. It was illustrated by the Puerto Rican colleague Efrain Capo, big, huge Lakers fan, and I'm a great, huge Miami Heat fan. So it was very fun a few seasons back. If you see me kind of heading off a little bit, my cat is coming here to say hello and to ask me why exactly I'm not sleeping, but I have to explain to him again that it's just exciting times. It's a great time to be making independent comics. So Efrain Crespo, I saw a lot of his artwork when Jose was sending files over to me with the progress of the comic, and his art is just so fantastic. I really love his artwork, especially when he draws something that I've written. Speaking of Hannah the Dragon Fang, he actually illustrated that short I did in issue number 2 of Paths. So this was the second time collaborating with him unknowingly, and as you can see there, he just has such a great fun style, and it was very cool to see all those illustrations come to life when after writing that issue with Jose, and it's just a fantastic, fantastic artwork. There is more artwork, I believe, in Silver Island Studios floating around of a Gran Matatan. I don't have that many images myself. I don't have the comic myself. I will have a copy hopefully soon, and Ephraim as well. And it's just a fun comic, and I'm super excited that people keep buying it, that people are enjoying it, hopefully. And because again, just because it sells, a comic selling and a comic being enjoyable is not mutually exclusive. So I really do hope that people that have bought the comic have actually been enjoying it as well. And there are going to be more stories done between Jose Cruz and I for Silver Island Studios. Yes, now I pretty much have everything settled, and I pretty much reset my whole work area, and I've been digging through files. So now I can like calmly sit down and we can bounce ideas off of each other again. We have some things that are is there stewing for a little bit, but hopefully when we're able to sit down and have those brainstorming sessions again, it'll be stuff that'll blow your guys' minds away. And I'm really excited to keep working with Jose. So that was a Gran Matatan number one. That's pretty much the story behind the character. I didn't design the character myself. I just kind of gave like a vague visualization of what I thought would be an interesting villain to go up against her. I just thought to myself, well, Blindsight's main superpower is that aside from having enhanced senses because she's blind, she can also uh, channel loud noises around her and manifest that as a physical plasma kind of assault through her hands. So I wanted to have a character that was a foil and, you know, cause a big ruckus. So I told Jose like a very loose description of like this tall, muscular dude, maybe dreadlocks and a machine gun for a hand, because what can be noisier than like having a machine gun for a hand? So it was like the perfect thing to like go up against her own powers and kind of show the readers what her powers were all about. And thankfully it resonated. People really accepted Blind Sight number one, her own origin issue, very well. That one was written by Jose. And again, people have resonated well with El Gran Matatan, thankfully. Once again, thank you to everyone that has purchased the issue. Thank you to Jose for giving me the opportunity to play in his little sandbox of characters. And thanks to Pedro Cortez for selling those comics as well when he went to the Manga Criolla comic book cosplay anime festival last weekend as well. Um, it's just fun, it's just fun to receive that kind of news, and it does good for your confidence. That's why I have to wear the World Series T-shirt, because I feel like a World Series champion right now. I usually do. Spoiler alert. So, with that in mind, I also want to talk about Project New Wave. Manuel actually sent me the pages of issue number three completed with the full coloring and the full lettering, and it just blows my mind away. And not because I am writing it as well, but it's just because Manuel and Francisco Rivera is such a fantastic, formidable art team. It's kind of like saying Jim Lee and Alex Sinclair in a way that there's just a chemistry between them as artists and as friends as well, that each issue just keeps elevating more and more, and it makes me wonder, like, my goodness, like, what's the top for them? And I think I'm starting to think there really isn't one, and there probably isn't going to be one, because again, Manuel's art is so good in itself, and Francisco's coloring is just so top notch. And I know I've said this before so many times, but I can't help it. It's the truth. I'm speaking truthfully. You know, I'm speaking truthfully from the heart. It is a fantastic art team. One of those art teams that you rarely see sometimes, that just has such great chemistry working together. And of course, they elevate anything that I could write as well. It's really a great team to be a part of, creatively and business wise, being with Manuel with Truthful Comics. It's just really been an incredible ride so far, with a lot of ups and downs, ebbs and flows, and that's what's going to happen with any indie comic book venture. It's an adventure in of itself. And I'm just glad that in this adventure I'm not going through it alone. So again, props to Manuel, props to Francisco. Yes, gorgeous artwork in that comic. Again, this is Manuel Carmona's baby. This is the team book that he wants to do, and he is a student of the Kubert School. He just does such wonderful illustrations. And Francisco Rivera, what can I say? Each issue that he colors, yes, gets better and better somehow. I wish I knew his secret, to be honest. Like, if I could color like him, I would be in Image Comics right now or something like that, or I'd be in DC or Marvel. It's just really a blast to see their works just combined. It's really a sight to behold when you look at those comics. And of course, I'm coming from the perspective of seeing everything coming together behind the scenes, the struggles that nobody outside of this group sees, and to see it all come together and be put together and this close to being published, issue number three. It's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing to see something that you put a lot of work into, um, be out there. So I'm very fortunate to be a part of this team, and very fortunate to see a Project New Wave, from its beginning stages up until the final product. And I hope that everyone that gave issues one and two a chance gives issue number three a chance as well. It's really a fun story to write, such great characters to write, and I hope you all enjoy it. And of course, lastly, I wanted to talk briefly that I made a surprise return to Enter the Danger Zone, that old video series that I used to do when I was living in Puerto Rico, where I would just basically grab a little camera and go to comic book activities and just kind of like off the cuff talk to some of the creators, just have like a bit of a conversation, show their artwork, their projects, and just have a fun time with it. It's also loosely connected to the earlier videos before those convention videos, where I would talk about like my top 10 comics that made me want to make comics and such. So it's fun to kind of revisit that and randomly do a new episode of it. And I know some of the newer viewers um, were kind of confused because the video itself was pretty blurry. It started off normal enough, and then like the main video was very blurry. And the thing is that I kind of wanted to experiment a bit. As many of you guys know, I really like to be experimental and kind of do things here and there, kind of like play around with things. So I kind of wanted to do this return to enter the danger zone, more or less kind of the way I left it. By the time I had done those videos, it was when 240 and 360 were the highest quality videos that you could watch on YouTube. So I kind of wanted to, give a nod to those old videos, if anything, for myself, just to like see how far things has come since then. you know um that's why I kind of started off that video with me randomly finding that old Batman baseball cap that a lot of people that saw the older videos kind of associated with me, especially because of the manga criolla videos, which was kind of the longest series I had done up to that point. Like 4 parts was that video. So it was just fun to kind of bring out that old friend that I still have, that Batman baseball cap. And that was kind of like a wink and a nod to that. And then when the main video started, I kind of wanted to do kind of like a throwback to that kind of blurry, low quality kind of streaming, YouTube loading red bar kind of era, and not very clear images. So that was actually a lot of fun to do. It was something that I've had in the back of my mind to do again. But again, things get in the way, life gets in the way, other projects get in the way. And I think it was like the perfect timing for myself anyway to revisit it because, again, I had this week I posted episode 2 to the general public of the Serene Chaos podcast, and that has been very well received. So far, for the first 2 episodes, each episode has catapulted into the top 10 visual arts category over at Podomatic, and it usually jumps a couple of thousand spots as well overall. So I'm very happy with that. The first episode of the second season was actually the most played podcast episode of the entire thing. So that's great. And the second episode was almost at the same level as well as with the first one. So that has been incredibly fun to do. I and that's the key word. I'm not having too much pressure in the sense of putting too much pressure on myself to do these podcasts, do these videos, because before I would put a lot of pressure on myself to do something entertaining, do something different, do something that'll, you know, like I was a big, well, I still am a big fan of like Cinemassacre and Channel Awesome, and even though didn't have the resources, of course, to do something on that level, that was always kind of like the bar to kind of try to reach and to try to achieve. And even with the limited resources I had, a lot of people said that I was doing wonders with it. Like I said in one of the previous live streams, a lot of people are really surprised and impressed with the way I added special effects in the intro to the Enter the Danger Zone videos of visiting. the Manga Criolla Fest back then in 2010. I believe it was 2011. So I've always been resourceful to an extent, even if I didn't have that much of resources to do something of big quality or whatever, with like image quality or sound quality. I always made do, like like I've said before, I lance danger it, I just go for it, no regrets, At least I'll have the experience of having done it. So I dropped that new episode of Enter the Danger Zone. I talked about the anniversary of the death of Superman. I know I said that it was the 30th anniversary, and it's not exactly the 30th anniversary. Like, it would literally be the 30th anniversary next year. But I also, I guess I also had like a Cyber Force in my head because I saw the ad for the Cyber Force Kickstarter celebrating the 30th anniversary of Cyber Force, which I think is mind blowing. Um, I'm going to get that one. Cyber Force, a big part of my youth. I actually dug out the trade that I have. I don't know if I have it around here with me. Give me just one sec. Like, it's a foil, part holographic cover. So let me kind of, so the glare won't be too bad off the cover. This is the trade paperback of the first 5 issues. Mark Silvestri, one of my all-time favorite illustrators. Like, he's one of those artists that, as the years went by, he just got better and better and better. Like, you see his stuff from X-Men and Wolverine, and then you see Cyberforce, and it's like such a huge leap in such a short time. And then afterwards, when he did the Darkness, it was like another big leap from what he already achieved in Cyberforce, which is, mind blowing to see how someone can still keep evolving the way that he did. And then when you see the cover that he did for the hardcover edition of the Kickstarter um, omnibus of the first, I believe, 13 issues, and some of the one shots are going to be in it. And it's just amazing to behold. It's also amazing to see how it's more acceptable for studios like Top Cow to make Kickstarters. I mean, even Boom Entertainment did a Kickstarter as well for Berserker. And it reminds me when poor Archie Comics once wanted to do a Kickstarter to like start their newer Archie comics at the time, and they were chastised for it so badly that they actually had to cancel that Kickstarter and do everything themselves. The whole funding for the books. Hello, a bit of a hiccup there, but I seem to be back. Hmm. Maybe it was the people that complained about Archie wanted to take down the stream. I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how times change, that once Kickstarter and Indiegogo were kind of viewed as like e-begging back then. Like, I remember when James Rolfe did the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, he actually did it through Kickstarter as well, and people started accusing him of e-begging and whatnot. And now you see like established studios using Kickstarter as a way to fund or co-fund whatever project they're going to do. You see artists doing their old characters have $1 million campaigns, and it's just so interesting to see how times have changed over the years. To change. Like, I've always wanted to kind of try crowdfunding myself. I hadn't before, not because I was afraid of what people would have had thought of me or that perception of e-begging or whatnot. But it is an interesting way to just kind of co-fund something and have something fun with the people that would like to contribute, because of the added perks and the feedback and the back and forth with the people, that are interested in signing on to the campaign and whatnot. It's actually very interesting to me, and might do one for when I do the TC edition of Warlord. I'm considering doing one maybe for Nevermind, just to kind of dip my toes into that arena and see how that would work out. If I do one for Nevermind, it would be to kind of help co-fund, um, to get a small run to have available to sell in comic book shops and whatnot. So I am considering that. I would just have to like see the logistics of it and what perks I could add to make it attractive to have possible backers for it. And it would also serve as like a good trial run for if I do one for Fred Peterson, the Mighty Warlord, which would be probably a bigger campaign than if I do one for just Nevermind, which is a comic that's already completed. All I would have to do is just kind of print out more copies and more incentives to send out to backers, and of course to then be able to send copies to a comic book shops and whatnot. Okay, so I think I'm going to cut the stream here. I just wanted to do like a small victory lap of um El Gran Matatan selling out at a Manga Criolla this past weekend. And also just, looking over at those pages of Project New Wave and how awesome it just looks, and dropping by surprise that new episode of Enter the Danger Zone, which, going back to it just to give a bit more context, I kind of got a little sidetracked there. I've been wanting to do Enter the Danger Zone again, because I was going to continue it also as a comic book review series. So the original intent was to, go to activities and comic conventions, in between conventions and festivals. I would do like comic book reviews and whatnot, just to like fill in the spaces. And of course, I would be like in character, and I would do mostly comics that I would not necessarily consider bad, but comics that I probably wouldn't have liked. And I actually did record a whole episode of it. I think I mentioned it before in like one of the old videos on my YouTube, that I did manage to record a whole episode of myself reviewing a comic that I didn't like. And even though it was just like me playing a character and kind of exaggerating the reasons why I didn't like it, kind of like in the style of a Cinemassacre or a Channel Awesome, I just didn't feel like it was my thing, to be honest. Like, it really didn't kind of gel with my personality. And again, I was just like doing a character and whatnot, but I just didn't feel comfortable by the end of it. And even though it would have been something that my friends, especially, would have probably enjoyed because I would just basically exaggerate things that I already didn't probably like about a comic. So it was like nuggets of truth, I guess, within the exaggeration. But it didn't feel like it's not that I didn't have the confidence to upload it because I had done way sillier stuff before that and it was online. But it just didn't feel right. And I would rather not upload something that I don't feel right with and just upload something just to probably get the views and the clicks and the controversies and whatnot. That's kind of not my style. I've always kind of been more about positivity in my channel and kind of spreading that positivity and trying to help inspire people to find their own creative voice and do their own thing. And even with comics that I don't necessarily like, I always find something of value in it as well. So again, just being mean for the sake of being mean for a video, uh, it's just all the power to the people that are able to do that. But I just personally couldn't do that. So I always had in mind that if I would do enter the danger zone again, it would be kind of like these smaller videos, like the one that I just uploaded of the anniversary of the death of Superman. I think video essays and reviews like Chris Duckman, for example, kind of helped inspire that kind of new tone of Enter the Danger Zone. Whenever I do get the chance to like go out to a comic activity or whatever, I'll likely do that as well. Of you know doing like off the cuff conversation with people that are at their table or whatever, selling and whatnot, and show their projects. But rather than do like comic book reviews or whatever, like there's enough channels, good and bad, that does that. So I'm just going to just do what I feel more comfortable doing as myself, which is just talk about comics that either had like a big impact in the industry and I actually read it, or just comics that inspired me to create comics as well. So that's pretty much going to be the new focus on this new Enter the Danger Zone. I don't have like a set schedule to do it. It's probably going to be either once a month or bi-weekly, kind of like the podcast as well, because I am juggling quite a few things at the same time, and I don't want to burn myself out, and I don't want to spread myself thin. And I still want to keep having fun with all these things as well. So that's basically it in a nutshell. I just wanted to, like I said before, do a small victory lap. Thank all the people that I needed to thank for everything that's been happening this week. Once again, thank you to Jose Cruz and Silver Island Studios for the opportunity to play with these characters. To Pedro Cortez for selling these comic books, kind of like acting like a distributor within the island. Thank you to Manuel Carmona for being a part of this journey of Truthful Comics and also giving me the confidence to play with his sandbox of characters as well. Francisco Rivera for putting double time effort in every page that he colors, and of course to all of you to that has either purchased Matatan, Paths, Project New Wave, those people that have been checking out my videos and my podcast, whether old or new. Really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I hope to be able to continue to improve and put out a product that people will really enjoy and, again, have as much fun checking it out as much as I fun as I'm doing them. So, once again, thank you all for hanging out for a little bit. See you all next time. Stay safe. The weekend is fastly approaching, so have a great weekend, and I will catch you all later.